Well, certainly when one of the discussions during the negotiations, at one of the discussions, we did have representation, at least from the St. Lucia National Trust. We had a representative of the Southern Tourism Organization, Dr. Reynolds, and the National Trust was represented. And I remember very clearly that that issue was raised about the environmental impact. And we were promised that those things would happen. And therefore, I assume that the National Trust and other organizations will be asking about those environmental impact studies. I want to say to you that the farmers' organizations obviously would, I want to find out whether there was consultation with the farmers, the livestock farmers in particular. Based on the drawings that I've seen and based on the negotiations, I know that the entire Boseju farm would have to go. The small ruminant farmers, the farmers who depend on the Boseju Livestock Station for genetics and breeding and so on, the administrative building at Boseju. And we were, at the time, while we were in office, beginning to think about, how we're going to deal with that issue, if indeed the investment did take place. So I agree totally with Dr. Hilaire that it is, for us, it was clearly an exciting investment, but we wanted to ensure that all of those bases were covered, that if we were going to relocate the Boseju farm, that we needed to have adequate consultations with the farmers, give them, adequate notice, and to ensure that they work with the government to ensure that there is minimum dislocation.
So it was never a case that the area was a no-no for that type of development? It was
No.
always open to...
Yes, in fact, the discussions were ongoing. As I indicated before, we even discussed the whole issue of the meat processing facility. So we did not hold to the position that definitely no, this can never happen. But we always held that we must find answers to those other major issues before we signed off on the agreement.
How much would it cost, or did you even arrive at that point to relocate and move
will pay for it?
Yeah, well, certainly discussions as to whether the investors would finance the relocation and also invest in Lucia. I am aware at the time when we left, when we got out of office, Invest in Lucia was also, there were discussions on the possibilities if we were to relocate the farms where those farms could, where available lands were, and so on. Those discussions were being held, and as I indicated before, our permanent secretary at the time, I had a couple of briefings with him to begin to lay the framework of a general discussion that we needed to have with all of the stakeholders.